Jordan, the kingdom of time. Jordan is a country of hikers and historians, scientists and artists, foodies and yoga fiends. Whatever your style, you'll find it here in the kingdom of Jordan. Today I'm joined by Avril. What's your official title?
Canada representative.
Of the Jordanian
Tourism Board. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And Avril's in town, knee deep in our snow that we've had here in Toronto. This has been recorded in February. Just lots of snow for us.
No kidding. And I'm from the West Coast. I'm from Victoria.
Oh, okay.
And we don't do this.
You don't get any snow out there?
We get a little bit, a little tiny bit, and they cancel schools and everything is closed. And meanwhile, yes, there's snow on the ground, but there's grass sticking up, but everything shuts down.
Right, for those who don't. Yeah, for those who haven't seen Toronto in this last week, there's no grass sticking up. There's nothing sticking up.
No.
We are literally, if not knee deep, neck deep in snow.
No kidding.
Anyway, we digress about that.
Yes.
So before we get into all things Jordan,
yes,
you mentioned you're from West Coast Canada, Victoria. So how did you get involved with Jordan?
I know, that's a story.
Yeah.
So I worked for a PR and marketing company and for several years, and one of the first accounts that they assigned me was the Jordan account.
Okay.
So they were doing and still do the PR side, and I was looking after the marketing and travel trade. And when I semi-retired, because this is my one thing that I do now, because it's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
I started with them on a May 1st, and on May 7th, I was sitting on an airplane going to Jordan. So pretty great. I wanted to see the world, and boy, have I ever. So, so then when I retired, I said to them, can I just take one client with me? And it's Jordan. And they said, you bet. So that's how I got here. It's an odd roundabout way, but I was in the right place at the right time.
So you've been looking after Jordan for how long?
Almost 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
That's quite long in the world of representatives.
No kidding.
Yeah, because often contracts come and go and people move on or whatnot.
Yeah, so I used to contract through that marketing company, and now I've transitioned and I am actually part of the Jordan Tourism Board team. I always have been as a contractor, but now I'm paid by
you're
them.
officially.
Yeah.
Oh, so you are officially.
I'm official.
Official.
I'm an official Jordanian.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, so on that note, for those who may not know, can you tell us where Jordan is geographically
Absolutely.
located?
Yeah, in the Middle East. Jordanians like to say that they have noisy neighbors or that they live in a bad neighborhood. And all that to say that bordered by Syria, Saudi Arabia, and Israel on the far west side. And Egypt is very close, just down from Israel. So it's an interesting neighborhood to be in. Jordan has been considered...
Does Jordan also touch, albeit briefly, Iraq?
Iraq, yes,
border?
You're right.
Border,
but from a far east side, which is really... no man's land, to be honest. It's a really cool thing to see that desert area.
Well, the reason I bring it up, I remember when I was leading trips there, we were driving through what would be eastern Syria in that sort of desert area.
Yes.
We came upon this road sign which basically said Iraq this way, Iran. It was one of those sort of classic road signs, Yeah,
it's so cool, right? You stop the car and take a picture, look how close I am. Yeah, I've done that too. But the desert castles, some of the Crusader castles are in that area. But I always forget about the Iraq side.
Yeah. So let's address the elephant in the room.
Yes.
There has been conflict in the Middle East historically, but obviously in recent history, as in the recent months, years, has been not quite a year.
It's definitely coming up to 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the Gaza conflict.
Yes.
I know when it originally broke out, the Middle East naturally and understandably sort of shut down because it was a true unknown at the time. A bit of stability has come into it.
Yeah.
So from Jordan's point of view, what is their view on visiting? Is it everything good to go?
Oh, 100%. And it has been from day one.
Right.
And, they refer to themselves as the Switzerland of the Middle East. And they are known for being a huge ambassador for peace in the Middle East. It's an awful thing to say, but this is not their first rodeo.
Yeah.
And I have been to Jordan twice during this conflict, and you don't see any signs of any issues happening there. And as well, keep in mind that our head office is located right in Amman. And we get the blow-by-blow from all of our DMC partners in Jordan, and then certainly from our head office colleagues. And there's no reason for them to not be completely candid about what's happening.
Right.
And it's business as usual. And in fact, could even represent a great time to go because it's not as crowded as it can be at certain times. So if you have a desire to go and see Petra without, 100,000 other people, what a great time. Now, it doesn't mean it's empty. In fact, what we are seeing is the Middle East is traveling to Jordan as a holiday spot. So it's busy still. It's not super quiet. But from a North American perspective, there is, our numbers are down to be sure. But yeah, it's a very safe place to go.
Again, and I say this in reference to travel only. The conflict has a silver lining for someone looking to travel. Of course, there's much more to it than that.
Absolutely.
I don't mean to.
Absolutely.
I'm not being dismissive
of
what's going on there. But we're here to talk about Jordan visiting.
And that's it is the elephant in the room. Everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
And but an opportune time to make Jordan a destination.
So just before we move on to the highlights of Jordan, just one more practicality. I know, and this is a big thing for Jordan, traveling to the Middle East and particularly Jordan for any religious beliefs or faith or if you're interested in the history of the Bible, etc.
Oh, for sure.
Often people would combine Jordan and Israel. Is crossing into Israel at the moment something that's advisable in light of the conflict?
That's a really good question, and I feel ill-equipped to answer it properly. Like, I wouldn't want to say something that isn't necessarily true.
Fair enough.
I am not aware of people doing that transfer right now, but from what I understand, in Israel, I had lunch with a lady who sells a lot of Israel and, in fact, lives there part-time. And it's business as usual for them, too.
Really?
Apparently, Tel Aviv is as vibrant as always.
Okay.
So my hesitancy about mentioning if
Totally
you can
understood.
go back and forth,
Yeah, that's fine. Again, I was just wondering if there was... Well, again, you're not sure, you don't want to say.
I'm not 100% sure.
And I respect that. I think our audience will respect that answer as well. But again, we are here to talk about Jordan.
Exactly.
So let's actually, since we're talking about the religious side of things,
sure.
Let's delve into that aspect because Jordan is an epicenter of religious happenings, locations.
Yeah.
So can you expand on that in respect to what someone can expect, be the person of faith or someone who's just interested in that style of travel?
And you know what? That is exactly it. I always say, even if you're not religious, these are sites of historical importance. Yes. So I think it's interesting maybe to see where it's said that Jesus was baptized in the Jordan River, and that is located in Jordan. We have many, many sites that are holy sites.
Can you rattle off a few of the probably more famous ones for us?
For sure. And I'll just mention before I forget, we do have a dedicated website to this. So it's called holyjordan.com.
All right, so separate from Jordan Tourism.
Yeah, okay. And you can access it from our website to Holy Jordan. Okay. But what's great about it is that there's all kinds of holy travel itinerary ideas, for churches and priests and ministers to think about bringing groups to Jordan for that. All the resources are there. And of course, I'm around and I can connect you with someone who's an expert in that field on our team. So,
and just on that note, Goway has a very large groups department to help with any groups in general, but obviously as Avril's inferring here, any religious or faith-based groups. Jordan is an ideal location. Yeah,
so where I mentioned where Jesus was baptized, the name of that site is Bethany Beyond the Jordan. And you can walk through there. There's a beautiful church there, very Middle Eastern stucco kind of church. It's gorgeous. And then you can actually go down to the river and...
sounds like you're about to sing a hymn, down to the river.
Yeah, down to the river. And you can go in the water. And it's what I really like about it is very simple. It's like a thatched roof hut, if you will. And there is... this small river. It is by no means a huge river. Yep. And and you are facing Israel's side to this river.
Okay.
So you're like this. It's like virtually a creek, basically.
Okay.
It's you can swim easily from side to side. Now there
Oh, wow.
are rudimentary pool buoys that divide the two countries. You just got to love that. Now the Israel side is quite fancy, very marbly, and you see large church groups there. But I feel like our side, not that I'm comparing, but just that I want to say that it's so authentic feeling, this thatched roof and what it might have been like.
Right.
So you can really kind of get in that moment. So that's one. We have Mount Nebo, which is really popular.
That's where Moses
Watched or
Or
looked
saw
over the
the
Holy
Holy
Land,
Land, yep.
and said by some sources that he's even buried there.
Buried
There
there,
is
yes.
a memorial to him there. And inside, there's an amazing church there that's just chock full of mosaics. Like, just absolutely beautiful. I've never seen it, like floors, the ceilings, and it's a very quiet space. So you're encouraged not to speak and to just be in the moment. And that's really a powerful thing to be there. Again, religious or not, it's pretty cool to see.
Right.
And then we've just launched a new pilgrim route, which is new. I have not done it, but from this now you can connect from Madaba, which is known as the city of mosaics, to Mount Nebo by hiking or pilgrim, like a pilgrimage, a walking trail.
Yep.
Yeah. And you'll go through a lot of really cool sites there too. Now, I haven't done it, but I've
What
heard.
would be the trip or the trek length? Is that
That's a good question. It's 29 kilometers, and
could do it in a day if you're really keen, but I guess probably 2 to 3 days.
2 to 3 days. Yeah. And you get to see all kinds of things on the way. And I'm sorry I don't have the actual details. I
That's
believe
okay.
you're going to go by Lot's Cave, and some other really cool historical places, but it's brand new.
Well, this is the thing about Jordan. Everywhere you turn, you're going to stumble across
Oh my
something
gosh.
historic, be it of faith or be
So
it just
true.
history. So on that note, Jordan is also very famous for Roman ruins, probably the most famous being Jerash,
Yes.
which is just outside Amman, correct?
It is. It's about 45 minutes
Yeah.
to an hour from Amman. And we often recommend that for the first day of travel. So your guests either will have arrived in the evening or in the early morning.
So let's just back up here. How do you get to Jordan? Or no, to Jordan.
Oh, to Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So never been easier. I love to say that because it truly is. Direct flights from Toronto and Montreal with Royal Jordanian Airlines. And honestly, it's from Montreal, it's 11 hours. So you can pick up the flight in Toronto. You go to Montreal and pick up more people, but you don't have to disembark.
Okay.
And then you go. So 11 hours. And sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, that's so far. But really, when you think about it, for Toronto types, it's 12 hours for you to get to Hawaii. And I think, I'm pretty sure Torontonians go to Hawaii. So
Yeah.
same, but different.
What about for our US listeners? What are the main
Oh,
gateways
for
out
sure,
of the US?
yeah. So RJ has direct flights out of New York, Detroit. They're launching Washington, D.C.
Okay.
They're in, I believe it's the end of March. So that's really exciting. And Chicago.
Okay.
So
And I guess anyone else, you could fly via continental Europe or, of course, via the Middle East.
absolutely, I've done it.
To Abu Dhabi,
Yeah.
etc., and connect out of there.
Yeah,
It's a bit
I think
over
it's really,
and back a bit, but yeah.
I think it's really common to go through Frankfurt.
Okay.
And I have connected through Rome as well.
Okay.
But honestly, if you can get on that direct flight, how lovely is that? You just check your luggage in and you pick it up in Amman.
Yeah.
It's so
And
easy.
Royal Jordanian is a good airline. I've not flown
Very
them, so,
good.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
they're great.
Yeah.
They're our national carrier. And, they're first class, like so many international destinations, is next level. Their
Right.
business class is pretty impressive. And the Jordanian people are known for hospitality. So it's not unlike when you're on board with the staff that are, flying. And, we're really proud of the fact that we do have a female pilot. And in fact, I've been on a flight where she was the pilot. I can't remember her name right now, but how cool is that? People are always asking me, are women's rights the same? And, are they as equal as they are here? And I always, yes. I mean, maybe it wasn't always that way, but it sure is now.
Well, again, going back to history and politics here, Jordan's been one of the sort of leading Middle Eastern countries in
It is.
becoming more open.
Yep.
I don't like to use the word modern, but more westernized, more modern in its attitudes and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And I was there for a long, long time ago, and traveling with female passengers, and they never felt anything but being welcomed throughout all Syria. And this is talking 30 years ago.
Through Syria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Jordan.
Through Jordan.
Yeah.
Anyways. Well, actually, at the time,
Maybe through Syria.
Syria was also fantastic at the time.
Absolutely.
But obviously, I meant Jordan in that statement there. Okay, so you fly into Amman. Again, we'll come back to Jerash, but in and out of Amman, because Jordan is also a very small country from top to bottom. So I've asked you this before, but what's the sort of stat to drive top to bottom or whatever?
So if you were to start up in Qais, which is in the far north, really this area here, you see Syria on one side and Israel on the other. It's where the Golan Hills are, and then Qais is right in the middle. If you drove nonstop, which is possible on the King's Highway, you could go all the way down to Aqaba, which is on the far south and on the Red Sea.
On the Red Sea, yep.
And that's a total of 6 hours.
Is that all?
Right.
I knew it was short. I didn't realize it was only 6.
If
well,
you
to me,
didn't
it's
stop,
only 6, but yeah.
Yeah. And so what I always love about that for travel advisors and for your itineraries is that your clients are not spending all their time in transit.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Yeah.
So you can, and each piece of Jordan packs such a powerful punch. It's all just so different than the last thing you did. You know how sometimes you go to countries and it's kind of same every place you go.
Yeah, well, that's that old expression going through Europe. Here's another church. Church.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Been there, done that. Yeah. And so, like even from the landscape, the weather, the topography, what you can see and experience, each one is like a rock star experience, and you're not having to travel 8 hours to get somewhere.
Yeah. So let's just jump back to Jerash. As you mentioned, it's only 45 minutes outside of Amman.
Yeah.
So there's one
great
of the
first day itinerary.
World-famous sites immediately accessible on arrival, or at least the next day.
Yeah.
On arrival.
Great first day while you're getting over jet lag. You can do it. I mean, it's how long is a piece of string. It depends on, if you're a real historian. But it is said to be the best Greek and Roman ruins in the best condition in the world, apart from what you could find in Rome.
Yeah.
And I've been there many times. It's incredible. Colonnaded streets and amphitheaters, and even Luciano Pavarotti had done.
I think there's been a few concerts there.
Not Luciano. Maybe it was him, but I know Andre Bonicelli.
I think a few rock bands have also performed there over the years.
Well, U2 did one from the Citadel, or Coldplay. From the Citadel, and that's a gorgeous video. You can look up on YouTube.
Yeah, I've again, it's not the same, but I often referred to it when I was talking to passengers that it's sort of like it's Pompeii-ish in its natural state, I guess.
Totally.
Whereas Pompeii was covered by the ash, Jerash wasn't covered by ash, but it still has that very new, fresh feel to it. I can't remember the age of it, but it's obviously Greek, Roman, so a couple of thousand years at least.
Absolutely, yeah. And yourself, as it sounds like you were a guide.
Yes.
So you have to go with a guide, because you could walk through things and not even know what you're seeing. You don't have to, but that's always my recommendation. And what I love is things are not fenced off. So there's not like, oh, don't go in there, don't touch that.
That's good.
No,
that
your
changed.
Experiential pieces are there. So I always say, for family travel, fantastic. And for people who are really curious about history, I always want to touch the walls as if I could.
I'm the same.
Are you?
Pull the energy from it.
Yeah. I want to feel and imagine all the hands that might have touched that in the past. And, you can see the ruts in the stones where chariots had gone down. For me, that's magic. Canada, everything is new. I love this country, so I'm not bashing it, that's for sure. But that's such a highlight.
I'm with you 100%. I love doing that. It's if you're allowed to. If you're not allowed to, you don't touch. Right, but if it's open and there's no issues by the authorities, I'm exactly the same.
Open air museum.
Yeah, just touch it. Against personal use into the same mindset. You just either you feel the energy, or just to your point, how many people have done this, be it modern or ancient.
It's incredible.
That have done this or walked these streets.
Incredible.
Fantastic. The other, we'll come to the famous site at the end of our conversation.
Of course, yes.
You've got the Dead Sea, which you've already mentioned, which sits in between, or the border runs
No,
through.
I mentioned the Bethany beyond the Jordan.
Oh, sorry, no, you're right, yeah.
So the Dead Sea, but you're right,
Yeah.
same but different. So you've got the Dead Sea in between, so Israel on one side, Jordan on the other. And in this case, not completely different than Bethany, is the Jordanian side is known for how posh it is.
Yes.
Beautiful hotels.
From my time there, my understanding, I think the last time we spoke, it's become very... Before it was almost not developed.
Right.
There were a few little resorts, but really it was just pull up, have a swim with some locals helping you out. Now, for what you told me last time, it's much different. Can
Stunning.
you expand on that?
Yeah, it's stunning. All of the hotels are beautiful along there. There's different, levels. So, but I would say you're probably looking for the most part at 4 and 5 stars.
Okay.
Huge properties. Lots of conventions take place in at the Dead Sea for obvious reasons, in that they, that it's such a gorgeous place to be. So nice and warm, even if it's cool in Amman. It's always warm in the Dead Sea. Lowest place on earth. So people are really interested and intrigued by that. And, the beach at the Dead Sea is not the most hospitable. It's not the beach that you're going to throw a towel down and lay on it. Not happening. Yeah. It's very rocky and incredible grains of salt. And by grains, I mean like pebble size. Like I have them on my coffee table at home because I like to brag. But it's really cool. So as a result, all these beautiful hotels have enormous pools. So because you're going to go down and you are going to put the mud all over you and then soak it off in this water. And then your skin is like butter. It's awesome. But then when you're relaxing, you're going to want to go back up to the pool because...
So when you say pool, you're talking a normal...
in-ground, gorgeous...
freshwater pool.
Oh,
not saltwater pools.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's also known for spas. So it's health and well-being is the Dead Sea.
So is wellness a big thing in Jordan?
Huge.
All of Jordan or sort of around the Dead Sea?
No.
Focal point?
All of... I mean, you see lots of people who go to, let's say, Wadi Rum for yoga, for spirituality, it's not throughout, but
it's more than just the Dead Sea.
Absolutely.
Right.
Even in Aqaba, you're going to see that with the Red Sea, the beautiful hotels and spas are everywhere. So, but in particular, the Dead Sea is known for that, just because of the oxygen levels, and the heat and that salt water and mud. It's made for wellness.
Okay, so you've mentioned Aqaba a few times. Now that is down the southern part of Jordan, probably the most southern point, because I think it sits very close to the border with Saudi Arabia.
It does. So you can sit out on the patio at, let's say, when I did this, I was at the Kempinski Hotel, which is stunning, and had a glass of wine. And I was looking at the lights, this was in the evening, of Eilat, which is the southernmost part of Israel. Egypt and Saudi Arabia over on the left-hand side, if you can imagine. So you're looking at all of these places that cradle the Red Sea. Yeah. And that's pretty darn exotic.
Yeah,
that beats the view I get from my house, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I didn't realize... I knew it was sort of everything was close. I didn't realize literally you could see it. Well, obviously at nighttime it helps with the lights.
Yeah, there's even a golf course there, which is, I think, one of the very few in Middle East.
Well, you preempted my question, so I was going to say Aqaba is known primarily, or was, for its diving and water sports.
Still,
but my question was, what else can you do there?
What else can you do there?
Golf.
So, and it's also like the Singapore of the Middle East or of Jordan. It's where people go for shopping, even Jordanians, and not clothes, but like for the best coffee, the best roasted nuts. Spices are huge there, although you can get them throughout Jordan. But I mean, I come home from Jordan and I look like a drug runner because I've got bags of za'atar and sumac, and it's just such amazing quality.
It's really changed.
Electronics.
A long time ago I was there, and it was really just that sort of backpackery port town for the diving and swimming and relaxing after your Middle Eastern run, seeing all the sights. But it sounds like it's like blossomed into a huge, I don't want to say huge, but a very large cosmopolitan city.
It is. It's huge. And and not so big. It's not downtown Toronto, that's for sure. It's still still quaint.
Yeah, everything's relative.
And markets and stuff like that. You can go out and buy handicrafts and all that. But I had a slide here just to say that the Aqaba is home to 6,000-year-old coral, and in fact, it is said that it has the best coral formations in the world.
Really?
So scuba diving people who are really passionate about scuba diving,
Yeah.
that is the destination on their mind. So 127 different coral reef formations and 25 dive spots for scuba.
Wow.
And the home to the only underworld or underwater museum. So you can go there and dive, and things have been purposely
seen that.
like you see in
I've seen
other
that.
dive spots.
Yeah.
But this one is considered a museum, and also known for boating. And they have these beautiful boats you can go out in, and they barbecue off the back of them. These beautiful fish. I mean, if you look up any pictures, and having gone there recently, I was there in June of last year, maybe even since then. The color of that water is remarkable. And I've done a lot of travel, and I've never seen water that blue.
Yeah, and again,
stunning.
People want to get an idea of it too. It's also a central point for free divers as well. A lot of free diving competitions
for sure
happening around
there.
Aqaba as well. Because, one, it's got some deep water, obviously, but it's also pretty... very pretty.
It's spectacular. It's just glorious. So I highly recommend people don't miss that. And in fact, sometimes what I tell people to do, if you want to sort of change it up, and I know Goway is looking at this now, is using Aqaba as the start. It's a great place to stay because you can do a day trip to Wadi Rum. Mm-hmm. And in fact, you can do a day trip to Petra.
Pretty much anyway.
And then you're going back to absolute luxury.
Okay.
And a phenomenal pool and a phenomenal beach where you can go swimming.
So you're saying base yourself at Aqaba and sort of spoke yourself out to the rest of Jordan.
Yeah, now it's going to be a more serious drive to get to
Amman or Jerash or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But same. If you're going from the north and you're heading down, Aqaba is sometimes the place people forego, and I really recommend.
Oh, so I would think, if nothing else, as you're speaking about it, I'd say I'd finish an itinerary there for those 2 or 3 days of relaxation and downtime. But you're now suggesting, or at least recommending, that it be the base to explore Jordan.
It could be, absolutely. And, on the last day of itinerary, or those last days when you want to really chill before you hop on a flight, often we recommend the Dead Sea because it's only an hour transfer from the Dead Sea to the airport in Amman.
Okay.
And what a great way to, get a massage, hang out at the pool, have a great dinner. Yeah. And then go. So when we arrange our itineraries, we often spend the last night in
and around the
Dead Sea and then just arrange transfers to the airport.
Okay. Well, there's a nice little bit of inside advice there for everyone listening. You mentioned that you think you were in Aqaba June last year. It doesn't matter when, but at least my question of when should you go to Jordan? Is there a high season, low season?
Yeah.
Too hot, less hot?
Yeah, for sure. So shoulder seasons are the best for prime weather.
Mm-hmm.
And that would probably be, March through June, and then mid to late September through to mid-November.
Okay.
And the great thing is you can go in the summer. We would love to build more traffic in the summer and in the winter, but there's weather issues to think about. It can be very warm in the summer, and for winter travel, which is really great because Amman even gets snow, but not like this snow. It's like Victoria snow.
Victoria snow.
It doesn't stay.
With the grass,
it's wet.
or maybe the desert poking through.
Exactly.
In this case,
So the winters are great to go to, but you need to be able to expect weather oddness. So if you've got lots of time, I would highly recommend you consider these shoulders because, if it's too hot, then you can wait for another time or go later in the day or earlier in the day. Sure. But these are less crowded times too, so there is a bit of a trade-off.
So basically, high season is still summer? Would that be high season? No. High season would be...
like up until June. I would say
is high season.
Yeah, from March to that would be when most people go.
So when you term shoulder, that really is your high season. That's when you get most people.
Yeah, those are our what we would call our shoulders are their high.
They're high. Okay.
Yeah, so less crowds in July and August, and
which is the middle of summer, and then
December,
in the middle of winter, less crowds. Okay.
Exactly.
So high season.
But having been there, I've been there in November, and I packed a really light coat, like a puffy collapsible coat. It was perfect for Amman. It was snowing when I was there. Again, real light snow. But then as you go south, it warms up.
Sure.
So it wasn't a deterrent for me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I don't think it would be a deterrent for most people.
No.
But again, there are people out there who do not like or do suffer from the heat, and it is Middle Eastern heat. So as you mentioned, it's got to be discussed. So we mentioned some of the Roman ruins. There's some of the relatively more modern around the Crusade times of the Crusader castles. Caracas is one of them. Can you expand on that sort of period of time and what people can take in?
For sure. I highly recommend doing the desert castles. It's a day trip. It's and guided.
Right.
You would want to have that guided. First of all, I've just never been in a desert like that. Like, it's hard sand. There is literally nothing there except scrub, if you know what I mean, and that's spotty.
Yeah.
Camels, and often wild, just chill camels around. And then you come across this like iconic building that's got little slits in them, for swords or for gunfire to go out there. But when you go in, these were the oases that the Crusaders came and stayed in if they were making their way from Iraq or from Saudi.
Right.
And inside, you would be surprised at some of the paintings on the wall. Missing the
Frescoes?
word. Frescoes, thank
you. You're welcome.
And primarily men stayed in those, the men crusaders. And so things that you don't expect to see in a Middle Eastern country, historical things, would be what we would see depicted in Rome, perhaps, these really voluptuous women. And it's, there's bathhouses in there, and going in there, talk about wanting to touch the walls. That's pretty incredible experience. And, great for children to see. The history is so much more meaningful when you can actually experience it and touch it and see how they lived and what those castles were used for. So
agreed.
There's many of them.
And you mentioned a few times that you have said private guided, which is what we highly recommend, particularly for a country like Jordan with so much history. It'd be a shame to go that far and not really understand what the castles were used for.
Completely.
How they were part of a network in and out of the Middle East, trade routes, etc., or to understand that this particular religious site or historical site.
You could literally just drive by them and not be sure what you've seen. And so I always go with someone who can interpret things for you and explain what you're looking at, because otherwise you'll miss it.
If you do look for private guided as well, the guide will obviously answer the questions you ask, and the questions you ask will be what you want to know, not necessarily what the 32 other people in the group may want to know.
Right. Again,
nothing wrong with group travel, but
exactly.
I think private guiding, small group particularly, is the way to go to really get the best out of what is of interest to you. You might be interested in Crusader castles, but you are interested in the faith-based things of what Jordan has to offer, or the natural things.
It's the customization.
Again, combination of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the whole social enterprise side, like when you're going to Jerash, we have 16 sites now that go through Jordan that are classified as a social enterprise. We call it a meaningful map.
Right.
And this is where you can get off. Okay, so you can get off the path and hang out with the locals, which is really what everybody wants. How many times do you go somewhere and say, okay, where, I love this tourist stuff, but where can I go and see how people live?
That's what I think more and more people we're finding here at Goway, looking into that more meaningful type of travel, more involved, immersive is the word we often use. Now, you just mentioned you have the meaningful map around Jordan.
Yeah.
So can you expand on what the meaningful map is and how it taps into the culture, old and new?
For sure. So you can find the information on the Meaningful Map on our website at myjordanjourney.com. It has grown. It started with 9, went to 12, and now we're at 16 places. Usually they're women's collaboratives that take place in a small town, and all of the money that you spend in those places stay in that community.
Nice.
So it's meaningful for them. It's a sustainable business. It's a sustainable tourism practice as well. So, for instance, if you're going to Jerash, there's a great place that I highly recommend people visit for lunch, and it's called Biat Karif Souf. And the ladies there cook the lunches or cook the food, and they do handicrafts and preserves and olive oil and stuff like that. And it's incredible. First of all, you're going to get the best lunch and the most filling lunch that you've ever had, because Jordanians aren't happy until you've eaten a lot. So they are the home of my people. But as well, you can go into the kitchen, you mix with these women. And I always say, like, I've had so many amazing experiences in these women's collaboratives, and you think they look so different than me. They wear a hijab. We don't speak the same language, but it takes about 2 seconds, because we're women, we're mothers, we're wives, we're sisters, and the warmth is instant. And they are so excited that you picked their country or their business for you to visit.
Right.
Like, that's a really nice way to be received. That's not always the case when you're a North American traveling the world.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So these spots, for want of a better term, are throughout Jordan.
They are. They go from the north, so up in Qais, which is that further north piece that is near Syria and Israel by the Golan Hills. Qais has an incredible community initiative where you can stay. The ladies come in and cook. You can pick a warm clementine right off the tree. They will teach you how to make bread and seed balls, and that you could just take home in a bag and then plant them in your garden. Like, it's really incredible. But more than anything, you get the feel, right? You're hearing the trees move in the wind, and it's quiet, and you're sleeping in a bedroom that's beautiful. It's not fancy, but it's local.
It's
local.
You
know that you're in Jordan.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
And again, I think it's what people are looking for, that more immersive experience.
So yeah, you can go right from the north all the way down,
south.
and there are not attractions, but these cooperatives. There's women's weaving areas.
It's quite easy to build multiple experiences within an itinerary.
Hugely.
As well as hitting all the expected big sites of
and
Jordan.
I think that will be what sets apart travel advisors from just a DIY individual consumer FIT. Is that deeper knowledge, and I know Goway is on that, and that's going to be really important, because that's what people are looking for.
Yeah, exactly. So please ask us about the Meaningful Map when you speak to one of our destination specialists about Jordan. Build that into the itinerary. A couple more things before we say adios. We've talked about the cultural richness of Jordan, the historical richness of Jordan. There is also the natural richness of Jordan. And probably one of my most memorable experiences was going through Wadi Rum back in the day, when you could just pull off the road and drive through it. Right. Which I don't think you can do. You can still drive through it, but it's now organised and whatnot. I found it stunning. In more modern times, it's been the backdrop for many a movie. Probably one of the more famous ones of recent times, The Martian,
Dune,
of course. Both Dunes were made there. So Wadi Rum has gone from really what it was at the time when I was there, again, long time ago, was you would drive through it. That would be your experience. You might see a Bedouin en route, but now it's much more structured. There are places to stay, overnight, camping experiences, camel rides, the whole thing. So can you expand on
Yeah, for sure.
Wadi Rum?
So it's not, there's no hotels, as you well know. It's all Bedouin
tented
campsites.
Camps, yeah.
And by campsites, it can be anything from, a goat hair tent to a lunar-looking dome, so that when you're laying in bed, you're looking out through this beautiful ceiling at the stars, which, by the way, feel like they're hanging directly over your head. It's because there's
clear.
no light pollution.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's great is these camps are rarely in sight of each other, so you kind of do feel like you're in paradise. Like
nowhere,
this
yeah.
is in the middle of nowhere. All of these accommodations have in tent or in dome washrooms. Lots of them, I think all of them, are air conditioned. So they're quite comfortable.
Yeah.
Either type of accommodation you sit in. And there's no restaurants. So when you go to these camps, they cook you dinner, and it's incredible. There's a famous dish called larb, and that is kind of like if you picture like a luau where they bury the pig in the
Yep.
but larb is typically lamb, and it's on a big metal rack. And so at the very top of the rack is the meat. And then on the shelves underneath that are the vegetables, the potatoes, and then that gets buried with hot coals in the sand. And it's pretty incredible if you can imagine all those meat juices going down there. So that's a very common dish to have with the Bedouins at night. And they're fun-loving people, and they love a campfire and a dance.
Right.
So dancing around the campfire is a thing, and
Right.
I'm sure you've had groups that have
Yes.
gone through there. You've probably got the pictures to prove it of people dancing with these Bedouins. They're just delighted.
Well, they love to celebrate life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in a place that looks like Mars. It does.
Yes,
And, you know, for adventure sports, it's huge. People do cycling. There's been marathons through the Wadi Rum. Rock climbing naturally is incredible. And, so Wadi Rum. And then there's all kinds of sidebar activities. You can go stargazing with a Bedouin group that will take you out. Hot air ballooning has become very popular there.
Nice.
And I haven't personally done it. I've taken groups there who have. And I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah, I can only imagine how beautiful that
It's incredible.
would be. Right.
And, you know, for people who love fossils, like you know, the fossils on the side of those rocks are insane. Camel tours at sunrise or sunset, that's pretty legendary experience too. I mean, everybody should try a camel once in their life.
Yes, they should. Definitely, at least once. Probably once only.
Yeah.
So the big jewel of Jordan is Petra.
Of course.
And I didn't realize this until recently when Goway has got involved with Saudi Arabia and their famous ruins, Alula. And it was brought to my attention that both Alula and Petra are from the Nabataean civilization.
Yeah.
And you can connect these two countries via land, which is a new thing.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about Petra in Jordan. Brought to fame, one, because of what it is, but two, you know, Indiana Jones, of course, probably brought it to mainstream popularity in what it was. It's probably the most popular site in Jordan.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, for the first timers, you bet.
Yeah,
that's something you got to do. And, you know, you can spend an afternoon there or 2 weeks.
I think what a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't until I got there as well, is I knew about the Treasury, which is the famous building in most of the photos, and where Indiana Jones rides out of. But that's literally just the entrance to a city. So as you turn right, you follow the passageway, then it opens up into the city. And I didn't realize that. And as such, we spent a complete day there with our guide, learning all about the city.
Every rock face is carved as you get into that city.
Yeah.
Even the walk through, the seek, it's called, the rock walls are beautiful. That's why they call it the Rose City, because the rock is quite pink. But even there, you can see the remnants of their plumbing, which is incredible. Like these pipes, the tops are not on, but it's clearly a pipe.
Yeah,
it's not. It's just amazing. And again, with the open air museum, it's the actual building of the Treasury. You can't go inside. There's not a lot to see in there in any event.
I was a bit amazed. I walked in expecting it to go deep, but it's
not.
Probably a small room like we're sitting in here.
But what they've discovered, I think, in the last year with radar technology is that there are chambers below. They did start to excavate and then stopped for fear that they may
collapse. Or
that they may take that foundation away without even knowing.
Oh, okay.
So that's a TBA.
Okay.
But the majority of Petra, that whole desert area, that city, is not explored yet. Like they're still uncovering things all the time. So you can go there and you'll see a university group with archaeology students or, PhD candidates that are there, and they cordon off, a piece of land much like the size of this table, and they'll work on that for months. Just pick because it's not completely unearthed. But then there's so much to see, and everybody a lot of people know about the monastery, which is up 900 stairs. So you take these stairs, and 900 stairs. Okay, you're thinking, okay, well, like that's not that bad. Like it's doable, but they're not stairs like in an office building. These are ancient stairs. Some are like this, some are like this. But it's well worth the climb because the monastery is even more incredible than the treasury, if you ask me. It's enormous. And you can take your time and do that. I highly recommend it. They do have donkeys and horses that will take you up. I don't recommend that.
Up to the monastery itself. Can you still take donkey horse in? Yeah. That's still allowed?
In through the Sikh coming.
Through the Sikh.
No, they've moved to.
Yeah, they stopped that, didn't they?
They did. And they were nerve-wracking, to be honest. They'd come clambering down, click, 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 and you'd be just scrambling to get out of their way. It really takes a toll on the stone. So now there are golf carts available. Oh, there are, okay. But it's highly recommended you walk through it.
Of course, but anyone who wanted to ride, you can't.
Exactly.
Anyone with mobility issues, you can get driven in by the golf carts.
Yeah, and I've gone in some of those buildings where they're open. You can climb up, and you go in and you look, and there's literally 4 tombs, nothing in them. But you can see where those 4 people would have been laid to rest. That's goosebumpy. That's incredible.
It is. Well, and again, that's my point that Petra is not just the treasury.
No,
it's a symbol of, but it's not the be all and end all. There's so much more, and that's why
they've just opened a museum there too. Okay. Just outside of the main gates that go into Petra. I went for the first time in June when I was there last, and I was really impressed. I thought it was incredible.
Nice.
The history that they are displaying there, and some, ability to understand what that history looks like through a timeline, because you can say Nabataeans, and it's like, well, when and where is that? How did that happen? Where in history? And so it's like a huge timeline that you can walk through and experience.
Get a better understanding.
Okay, now I get it. Okay. So I highly recommend people check that out too.
Now, the other famous thing of Petra is the light show.
Oh, yes,
is that still happening?
That night. Yeah, it sure does.
It doesn't happen every night, though, does it?
No, 3 nights.
3 nights a week?
3 nights a week. So it's Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And that's apt to change at any time. But since I've been working with them, it's been Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And the Bedouin women who live in there make these candles. And they put them in, they put them in bags. Paper bags, and mount them or weight them down with sand. And so as you walk in that Sikh into the treasury, which is about a 30-minute walk, it's pretty phenomenal. It's a whole other ball game. So everything looks different.
So is that accessed during a normal day tour, or do you have to book that as a separate entrance?
That's a separate entrance. I suppose I would say it's a separate entrance.
Right.
Yeah.
And is it just in frfront of the treasury, or does it extend down into...
No, just in front of the treasury. So it's the walk in and then the treasury. And then there's maybe 100 of these candles in these bags, just as you approach the treasury. And so you sit on Persian carpets along there, and the Bedouins bring you mint tea, super sweet mint tea, and these great big copper platters, and they carry them around. And then a flautist, Bedouin flautist, will play. And it's pretty spiritual, I have to say.
So it's just the lights and the music. There's no sort of presentation.
No. And the lights, will change color and everything like that. But really, first of all, it's quite a a meditative moment, if you will.
Yeah,
like
okay.
you just think about the people who would have passed through there,
Yeah.
and it's pretty incredible.
Beautiful. Okay.
And then the lights are fantastic to see. Why
always
you
looks
need
pretty.
those pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a few more practical questions before we go.
Yes.
It's a Muslim country, naturally.
Yeah.
Consumption of alcohol, can you drink in Jordan anywhere, or is it sort of just in the hotels?
Mostly anywhere.
Okay.
It's just where it's accessible. So in Wadi Rum, for instance, there's no alcohol, but you can bring it in.
Oh, okay.
And you want to kind of check with your guide about the camp that you're staying in, and just get that from a respect perspective.
Of course.
Bedouins don't typically drink, so but in all of the cities or wherever you're staying in a big hotel, they all have lounges. There are liquor stores around.
Okay.
There's liquor stores in Aqaba, in Amman. It's just not like here.
Yeah.
It's just not as prevalent. And you can go to restaurants there who don't have a liquor license, like beautiful restaurants, and it's just not a big seller for them.
Yeah.
And you say a Muslim country, and it is, but Christians and Muslim, all religions are welcome there.
Yes.
Like, you even will have married couples who one is a Muslim and one is a Catholic. You see that on the churches on either side of the street. Like, it's just incredible. So it is a very peaceful place to be.
I don't like the word tolerant, because
It's not
like it suggests that someone is just putting up with it. They're not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the right word would be, but it's a very.
It's completely interfaced.
Yeah, interface, and it's like I don't care.
A-OK.
Yeah, A-OK.
Yep.
It's a nice way of putting it as
Yeah.
well. On that point, for a female traveller, are there any dress considerations other than obviously going into a church or anything else, which is anywhere in the world? Male and female should dress respectively entering churches or synagogues or mosques.
Absolutely.
But beyond that, there's no head coverings required or anything like that?
I think, out of respect, you probably wouldn't want to wear your low-cut J-Lo dress into Jordan, into the downtown area. But I think that's the way most travelers are anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And your guide will tell you the only time I've had anybody recommend something is to have a T-shirt on versus a tank top when I was going into the market. If you went in the market with bare shoulders, no problem. Nobody's going to say anything. It's a respect thing.
It's a respect
right?
thing again. Yeah.
But otherwise, in all of these glorious pools that we've talked about, these beautiful hotels, you're going to see the tiniest bikinis. Men are welcome to Speedos. Like, it's not an issue.
Right.
And before I went there for my first time, I looked online and thought the same thing. Like, I better keep my ankles covered and this. No. And there's all kinds of misinformation there. It is not true.
Right.
You dress, Western women are welcome
Western
to dress.
women, and again, it's like anything else. It is still a Muslim country, so just dress respectfully doesn't mean you have to be covered head to toe. Yeah.
And, we're seeing solo female travel as a real trend that's shaping up in Jordan. And I have to say, because there are so many Muslims, you're not seeing people laying around drunk on the sidewalks in the city of Amman.
Right.
It's very safe. And I find Muslim men to be very respectful and gentle. So, I love to crash those theories about it being
I'm with you. Because
nerve-wracking.
Again, I'm using an example 30 years ago, but back then, when it probably wasn't as liberal as it is now, it was still none of my passengers or myself felt threatened in any way.
Never have I ever.
Whatsoever.
No, and you see a group of young men walking back, and they're arm in arm, but they're not drunk and they're not on drugs, and they're having a blast, but they're not out looking for any trouble. Yeah.
On that note, again, male arm in arm, which is a very Arab thing to do. LGBTQ travel to Jordan, is it an accepting place for LGBTQ people?
Yeah,
Yep.
Accepting. And you're not going to see a pride parade there yet.
Of course, yeah.
It's, by the letter of the law, it's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
But unless you are being outwardly obvious, then it's fine.
Okay.
I've traveled there with LGBTQ. My daughter's LGBTQ. I I would welcome that. Like, I've traveled with a gay man who came with me, and he was quite effeminate, and there was never a problem.
Issues.
No.
So 2 men checking into a hotel, 2 women checking into a hotel is not going to be an issue
it
or
won't
cause
be an
any
issue.
dramas. Okay.
No, it's just, are you going to do a big demonstration for LGBTQ there? Probably not.
No, and I don't think that's what the community's looking for. They just want to feel safe and secure traveling in that world, which is fine. Okay, excellent. So, as I've often referred to in our conversation, 30 years ago it was this, and 30 years ago it was that, and it's not 30 years ago, it's now, and things have changed dramatically by the sounds of it from my last experience there. That leads to the question, what's on the horizon? What's new for Jordan, next month, next year, next 10 years, if there are plans that far ahead?
Yeah, well, we're seeing a lot more music concerts happening in Jordan, and there is a brand new area for that to take place in. It's in just outside of Amman. I'm not even sure that it's completely opened yet, but so that's fun to see. I've seen some posts where they've done some, sort of dipping their toes in that, and looks really great. Like it's outside and great lighting, and so I think that we're going to start to see a lot more of that. We have that reality show about the Supper Club. I don't know if you've seen that, but that is done by an OTA who shall remain nameless. However, if you want to see what Jordan looks like and the cuisine and the chefs that you can access in Jordan, that's out. I don't know how I guess it's on YouTube. Called? The Supper Club.
The Supper Club.
Yeah, and I think they do, I know they do it in different destinations, but I know they've done Jordan just recently. Okay. So that's interesting. They stage dinner parties in Wadi Rum and so on. So it's something to be interested in. A new film studio has opened called the Olive Wood, and that's a testament to how many movies are getting made there.
Right, so that's to bring North American filmmaking.
Absolutely. And I mean, Jordan. We've had, in Jordan they say Aladdin,
okay.
That filmed with Will Smith, and that was done in Jordan. So there's a need. So that's
interesting, because I was in Morocco last year, and they take you purposely, or not purposely, you can choose to go via their studio, because a lot of stuff's filmed in Morocco as well.
Yes.
So Jordan's following suit and bringing production to Jordan.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Film tourism is a trend for sure.
Yeah.
And like we talked about the solo travel for women, we have updated our training. If anybody on your team would like to take that training, it's available on our website. You can become a Jordan specialist. The program is really good. I have to say, having done it myself, I learned a lot. And it's really much easier to sell the destination if you feel more confident about what you're selling.
100%. So a cross promotion here. So you have the specialist program with the Jordan Tourism Board, and the Goway Pro Travel Academy has a module on Jordan as well. A lot of it might be double up, but still you have two options here to further educate yourself on the destination itself as well. So on that note, you've mentioned a couple of websites. So as you say this now, I'll throw this up on the screen. What's the main website for it's Jordan Tourism, I believe?
It's myjordanjourney.com.
My Jordan Journey.
And that's the North American version of a website. It's packed with great information. And if you haven't already, do sign up for the newsletter because anything that's hot off the press gets put out through those newsletters. I learn about things from those. They are really good. So by all means, sign up to get those and follow us on social media.
And there was a second website you mentioned?
There's visitjordan.com, which is the international website.
Right, okay.
And you are obviously more than welcome to go in there, just different presentation of very similar information. And then we talked about holyjordan.com for holy travel. And there's a few others that I want to give for anybody who is interested in adventure travel. So there's the Jordan Trail. That's a trail that literally runs the full length of that country. So 6 hours in a car is very different than walking that 6 hours because you're up and down.
It's a literal walk.
It literally is a 58-day walk. Like it makes it pale. The El Camino pales. But what an experience. And you can just do chunks of that. And I know that your partners in country can help facilitate that. So you can do like a 4 or 5 day chunk, and you can take it and you'll be walking through, forests, green forests with water, and then right through into the desert mountains of Petra, but like not the actual site of Petra, but through those mountain ranges. Incredible.
Oh, wow.
So their website is thejordantrail.org.
Okay.
And the one other one that I wanted to tell you about was the Jordan Bike Trail. And so same, only you can ride a bike, and you do it's 730 kilometers, and you can go from Umkais, which is at the very north, and you can ride on the roads.
Is that a supported bike ride? Oh, you have a vehicle alongside you in case something goes wrong?
No, but that could be arranged through Goway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. But the trail itself is built. Here's a map. Here are the stops where you go.
And
but of course we can, as Avril just mentioned, create it so you have a support vehicle with you. Okay.
And there's homestay options along that. Like your ground support will know exactly what to do, or you can stay in hotels.
Well, that was a question I was going to ask, which I've forgotten about the accommodation. So there are homestay options within Jordan.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, especially in relation to those two options, the hike,
the trek, and the bike.
And the cycling,
Excellent.
which would be pretty cool.
That would be.
Yeah.
Because we've had a few people here do the Camino.
Oh, yeah.
And hard work and beautiful and stunning. One of the girls I know did the full thing.
Yep.
Moira, I think, did a portion of it recently, as in
amazing
last year or the year before. But yeah, I think I prefer Jordan for that type of thing. Walking top to bottom of Jordan with all these sites on the way would be amazing.
Yeah, you can camp, you can stay in hotels, Bedouin tents, and homestays.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Well, I'd like to thank you again.
Thank you.
Because we spoke probably a couple of years ago.
Yeah, not long ago.
I think it was just before things went down.
That's possible.
And that's why we actually didn't air the webinar at the time, because we didn't know what was happening in the region. But now, to loop right back where we started,
exactly,
everything is good for Jordan. Now's a good time to go. Again, silver lining in certain aspects in regards to not as many people at the moment. It's all relative, as you're very, very keen to point out.
Yes.
It's not quiet, but now's a good time to avoid the big crowds. And, in good times and bad times, Jordan's always been a pulling point for people traveling to the Middle East, because it's so accessible, so welcoming, so open-minded.
The food is amazing.
Has so much to offer. It's such a small spot. Yeah. So now's the time to get there. If you do need any more information, again, I've just put up all the websites that Avril's mentioned. All the information's there, but if you do want to reach out to Avril directly, I'll throw up her information now as well. Of course, your Goway destination specialists know all the stuff that Avril knows. She knows it probably a little bit better. She goes back more than most. But our team know it intimately as well, and as we've alluded to there, if you want to do the trek and get a support person with you, or bike and support vehicles, we can make that happen. Do portions of the trek and do 5-star here, camping there, homestay there. We can combine it all, because that's what Goway does the best, customization for you. So on that note, Avril, I'd like to thank you again for your time. It's really good to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Too bad it had to be in neck-deep snow here in Toronto.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, but you'll enjoy it when you get back to Victoria.
Oh, I will.
Everyone, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.